Previously, on Captain Save a Home.
I'm Captain Save a Home.
You can call me Janice.
Here to empower people.
So we will be showing you how to do this safely, without assistance.
You can never go wrong with a really good pair of gloves.
It would quite literally not hurt you to wear protective footwear as well.
Not being aware of what can happen is dangerous.
Installing the corners can be performed by one person.
That if you're doing this by yourself, you're going to want to get the screws and washers, a few of them set up to be able to secure the pieces that you're working on before you get started.
Once the second corner is in, the bar being installed will be able to connect to the bar from the first corner, giving them both stability.
I left that one open. That's because the next panel is going to go ahead and slip inside of that, and we'll be screwing both panels into that piece there. Apparently it doesn't know who I am.
Captain, I'm sure you are aware that this is the first piece of shed we have completed together.
And we're only just getting started.
And now, the captain and myself in part 2 of storage shed assembly.
The truss assemblies are already assembled. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to show you basically the easiest way to put a multi-point assembly together and still be able to have it lined up. You start with making sure you have all the pieces, obviously. And start putting them in the locations that they're needing to be in. Now the brackets to hold the truss assembly together itself, as you can see, the lip ends up having to face each other. And that's on the top corners. The very top there. Same here. And here. Now, there are a couple of brackets that tie into some of the other framing. So of course they have to stick out to have that ability to tie into it. These are two different numbers for the brackets, so make sure you have them in the right place before you start assembly. These are Allen bolts with just a regular nut. And the best way to do this is once you have the brackets in place, you start putting the bolts in and attach the nuts to each bolt but leave them loose, because as you go down the line, your alignment's going to be off a little bit. So instead of tightening one bracket and then trying to go to the next one and hoping it lines up, just keep everything loose until the whole thing is assembled. Then you go back and, whether it be just a standard wrench or basic wrench or a crescent wrench in this case, you'll go in, have the size for the nut, hold it in, then make sure you have the proper size for your Allen, and then you go to tighten everything in. And of course, you want to tighten everything just enough to where everything's secure, but it's not deforming the truss assembly itself. Before installing the truss assemblies, these tabs here need to be raised at 90 degrees, and that serves as a bracket to hold the truss assemblies in place with the bottom rail. This will happen in 4 locations. Only 2 locations per truss assembly are required. But we're going to go ahead and get all 4 ready.
A friend of ours, who lives in the area, assembled the trusses overnight. We were also able to recruit him to help install the top rails for the trusses to attach to.
Now the truss assemblies themselves will tie in at the base, the center rail, and the top rail on both sides. This keeps it from getting too unstable while you're putting the rest of it together. Now on the back end, you have just the location at the bottom and the top, which still gives you enough stability until you've got the rest of it in to support it. If the truss assembly gets unstable while you're trying to get the bottom screws in, a little trick: there's a little notch at the bottom to where it sits in. So if you just get everything in that little notch, and go ahead and put the screws in on the top first. That way it keeps it from swaying back and forth.
Now that the truss assemblies are in place, we must install the top rails that stabilize the framing between the trusses. This will also allow for the wall and roof panels to connect at the top continuously.
Alright, it's time to run hard on the panels.
The metal panels are quite sharp on the edges. To avoid cutting yourself, be sure to wear your gloves while you are installing these pieces.
Be sure that when you're running the panels, you have plenty of screws with the plastic washers. Now, I would say the best bet is to set a bunch of them up, or if you have a second person, they can be setting them up as you put the panels in. Either way, it's going to save a whole lot more time to set quite a few of them up at one time. That way you don't have to keep stopping.
With handfuls of the screws and washers already set up, keeping them with you, while mobile, makes it more convenient to install the panels, with fewer interruptions. When installing the panels, use an alternating screw pattern. Start with a top corner, then keeping the open edge blank, screw in the next opposite bottom corner. Go back to the remaining top corner, then back down to the remaining bottom corner. Put a screw into each side of the middle of the panel to attach to the center bar. After you have done that, proceed with installing the remaining screws. Keep the screws loose until all the panels for that side are installed. This will help to keep the screw holes lined up while installing each panel, without having to struggle with alignment.
Another point in the assembly of this shed is this middle rail here. Obviously you can tell there's really no place for you to be able to reach your arm over and secure one side while working the other. So this would be where the second person would hold it, and then the first person would actually be putting the screws in to mount it. If you're doing this by yourself, the person holding it is going to be this wire right here, and I'll show you how to do it. So you start with putting the wire into the very last hole where the middle rail is. Make sure it goes in as far as it can, and then make sure it holds tight. It'll hold that middle rail in place and keep the screw holes lined up. What you want to do is on the other side now is put your next screw on the next to last screw hole. After that, you should be able to take the wire out, but if you want to leave it there until the whole thing is done, that's fine too. And it can actually be electrical wire, it could be wire hanger, just anything that'll go through both screw holes. And that will hold everything in place while you're on the other side. Now make sure you hold on to the wire on this side while you're screwing it in. That'll give you the pressure that you need to be able to get that screw in and the next few screws following. Alright, just one last screw to go into this middle rail. but it's not going to go in unless I get this wire out. Here we go. And good. Now we just got to get that last screw in, and that middle rail is done. Because there's no reach at all for the next two rails, I'm going to use 2 pieces of wire for each rail to hold on to, and I'll start screwing in from the middle while I have the 2 pieces of wire on the edges. And that's how we'll end up doing this one. Now for the door frame. There's the left and the right jamb. And then this trim piece here. You want to put the screws in to secure the jamb to here, from here to here first. Then, when you go to put the top piece in, then you'll secure that one. Don't try to just start going crazy and screwing stuff in and then realizing you have to unscrew stuff.
Next, we install the top rails along the back of the shed. These rails allow the connection between the back wall and the gable, which will go in later. To help with alignment, start with a screw on each end and then fill in the remaining screw holes. Installing the door jambs for the large door in the front, as well as the top rails, were self-explanatory. We continue working on the front with the hinge installation.
Alright, this is the door side, this is the jamb side.
There are 3 door hinges to be installed on each side of the opening, to support the larger doors.
When installing the header bar, you have to get it to slide into the notch and under the top rail on both sides. I'm inserting it into one side at an angle and pushing it in further than it needs to go. For the other side, I lift the top rail just enough to get the header bar to go in on that side and force it in to make it even between both walls. Nothing gets screwed down yet. The doorstop bar ends up installing over the header bar with the thicker side on the inside of the frame and the thinner side on the outside. Line up one end of both pieces to the hole at the top of the door jamb, put the screw in, and then do the same thing on the other end.
The triangle brackets are secured with 3 screws on the inside of the doorway. Their purpose is to square up the top of the doorway and help stabilize the front wall before the gables are installed.
So to get to this point, you're using the round-headed screws, the nuts, and the plastic washers. When I put this stuff in, I can usually hold on to the nut well enough to make sure it's tight. You'll probably want to use a wrench of some sort to be able to complete that. So we're going to go with the second one. There we go. Sits just like that. Yeah, sit like that. And then we'll use some more of these guys. Get them all finger tight first, of course. Once you've got them in, go ahead and tighten them up. see what else we need to put on there right now. And it looks like we're all right. There's going to be 2 of those, but we're only going to put 1 in for the time being. Just based on the amount of time we have left.
If what you saw was helpful, intriguing, or entertaining, please like us, share with your friends, and subscribe to be notified of newly released issues. And leave a comment below if you have any questions about the projects you see here. We would enjoy hearing from you. We are pleased to inform you, we will have fewer pieces of shed to deal with next time.